17th Assembly of Uttar Pradesh had a house strength of 403, which meant that the BJP had been given a mandate where they had 110 seats over and above a simple majority. In 2017, the BJP successfully used social and electoral realignment to gain its massive advantage. It was no easy task in a state fragmented across deeply entrenched caste and religious lines. Till the mid-1970s, it was the Congress that had dominated Uttar Pradesh politics by forging a coalition of higher and lower castes. In 1989, the backward castes were mobilized by the Janata Dal. The JD had consolidated its base by extending reservations for backward classes in educational and administrative services. But then came the implementation of the Mandal recommendations in 1990. It provoked widespread resentment and disapproval and further intensified divisions among Hindus. Many upper castes reacted violently to the new reservation policy and shifted their vote to the BJP. This, while the Ram Janmabhoomi movement began mobilizing the overall Hindu vote in its favor. With close to 70 different types of subcastes making up about 21% of the electorate in Uttar Pradesh, the Dalit vote bank can make or break governments. In the 1990s, the Dalits, who had traditionally voted for the Congress, gravitated towards the BSP. But in 2017, the BJP had worked hard to gain their confidence.
Here's the seat share projection for Uttar Pradesh. The BJP projected to go up from 47 seats in 2012 to up to between 251 to 279 seats in this election. That is an astonishing figure if that were to be correct.
When the results came out, the India Today post-poll data showed that while the BJP retained 62% of its traditional voters amongst the upper castes, it was successful in their objective of wooing backward caste and OBC voters to its fold. The BJP made a virtue of creating and consolidating majorities, in the process bypassing the Muslim voter. Stitching together a broad pro-poor alliance of communities that had gone underrepresented in the past, the party achieved its massive jump in fortunes. Yet, in the 312 seats that the BJP won, not one MLA was a Muslim. This in a state where close to 20% of the population professed Islam as their religion. In fact, the Bharatiya Janata Party in 2017 had achieved that eventuality by not fielding a single Muslim candidate. The numbers suggested that the BJP had worked out a strategy where it consolidated the majority Hindu vote, irrespective of caste, while at the same time making the minority vote irrelevant. Once the election was won and the massive mandate secured, the party took time to decide who would wield this power in India's most electorally relevant state. After 8 days of suspense, the name of Ajay Singh Bisht, alias Yogi Adityanath, was declared as the 21st Chief Minister of UP.
मैं आदित्यनाथ योगी ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि
His tenure to begin from 19th of March 2017, a full term that he was to remain at the helm of affairs that saw some of the most controversial issues dealt with an iron hand. From deaths of hundreds of children, to riots, to brazen rape and brutal murder, to lynching of a police inspector. And yet, on the other hand, some of the biggest infrastructure and development projects that the state had ever seen.
In the real sense, I think he has managed to push his way even to the extent of making somebody like Modi compromise on him. Because if these rumors are correct that he was not the first choice, then he has been able to manage to bulldoze himself to get this chair.
Controversial and polarizing, even before he took the job, the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh had never held an administrative post outside his mutt. And after a full term in office, he remains BJP's poster boy. By constantly raising issues such as love jihad and cow protection, in his first term as CM, he emerged as the Hindutva face of the party. Uttar Pradesh, which has always been a hotbed of political agitations and people movements, was also gripped by protests raging across India. In UP, the anti-CAA protests took an ugly turn in December 2019, when more than 20 lives were lost in the violence that ensued. The Chief Minister said revenge would be taken against those who had vandalized property during protests.
जो भी जिम्मेदार होगा उसकी जवाबदेही भी तय करेंगे। इस हिंसा में लिप्त प्रत्येक तत्व की प्रॉपर्टी को जब्त करेंगे और उस जब्त से सार्वजनिक संपत्ति को हुए नुकसान या कहीं पर पब्लिक प्रॉपर्टी को जो डैमेज किया गया है, इसकी भरपाई भी हम उन सभी उपद्रवियों से करेंगे, क्योंकि वे सब चिन्हित चेहरे हैं, वे सब वीडियोग्राफी में आ चुके हैं, सीसीटीवी की फुटेज में आ चुके हैं। इन सब की प्रॉपर्टी को जब्त करके इनसे हम इसका बदला लेंगे।
A few days later, the Uttar Pradesh government started sending notices to seek compensation for damage to public property and in some cases, even private property. Hundreds of such notices were sent to those accused of violence in Muzaffarnagar, Lucknow, Rampur, Bijnor, Sambhal, Meerut, Kanpur and Bulandshahr, seeking damages. Hundreds of arrests and detentions followed.
दवा लेने गया था, वो पान दुकान जो आजकल खाए जाते वो खाने के मसाला दुकान मिला था, पकड़ के।
The UP government's orders were challenged in court and rulings have come against such action, though its implementation on the ground has been sketchy. The other big movement with political consequences has been that of the year-long farmer agitation. It subsumed western Uttar Pradesh. Here too, building up to confrontations between the farmers and the government. The farmer protests threw up new dynamics and new leaders emerged to challenge old hegemonies. Huge Mahapanchayats became symbols of political assertions as the rural hinterland of UP began flexing its muscles. The rural grouse, after decades, saw the joining of forces between Jat and Muslim communities. And despite multiple attempts by the ruling combination to break up the agri-combine, the agitation stuck to its grounds. Often at the cost of blood and terrible force, the farmers of western UP stuck to their demands and gave fair warning of how voting sentiments may swing in the elections of 2022.
अब सरकार खिली है वो दान पुण्य करेगी और गांव के लोग भी कहावत है जो कुछ सरकार ने दिया तेल पुण्य में गए।
6:32 पर यहाँ से 12 किलोमीटर दूर पर टोल प्लाजा है। टोल प्लाजा के पास 6:32 पर एसटीएफ की जो पूरी कॉन्वॉय है वो उज्जैन से विकास दुबे को लेकर आ रही थी। हमने उसको कैप्चर किया। उसके बाद हम उस कॉन्वॉय के साथ, चूंकि हमें जाना था उस लोकेशन पर जहां पर विकास दुबे से पूछताछ होनी थी, उसके बाद अचानक से हमारी गाड़ी को और तमाम गाड़ियों को एक जगह पर रोक लेती है पुलिस और अचानक चेकिंग शुरू हो जाती है। उसके बाद हम वहाँ से किसी तरह से निकलते हैं। हमने बाकायदा वहाँ पर लाइव किया, हमारे पास वो तस्वीरें भी है, हमने पुलिस वालों से बात की। उसके बाद
जब आपको रोका गया तब एसटीएफ का कॉन्वॉय आगे निकल आया, आपको कॉन्वॉय पीछे छोड़ दिया, आप लोगों को वहाँ रोक लिया गया, कॉन्वॉय आगे निकल गया।
जी बिल्कुल, यही मकसद,
मतलब प्री प्लान स्पॉट पर कॉन्वॉय की गाड़ियाँ निकलती हैं और पुलिस बैरिकेड लगा के आप लोगों को रोक लेती है।
एग्जैक्टली, आपने बिल्कुल सही कहा। और हमें जानबूझकर वहाँ रोका गया अचानक से, और उनका मकसद ये था कि कॉन्वॉय आगे चला जाए। उसके बाद जब हम आगे बढ़े,
जल्दी 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 उतरिए, जल्दी 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 जल्दी, गाड़ी पलटी गई।
आज तक इंडिया टुडे की पहली टीम थी। सबसे पहले हम यहाँ जब पहुँचे तो ये जो स्पॉट अंकित आप देख पा रहे हैं, यहाँ से गाड़ी हटा ली गई, यहाँ पर गाड़ी पलटी हुई थी, कोई भी शख्स नहीं था। एसटीएफ की 2 गाड़ी थी, लोकल पुलिस कर्मी यहाँ पर मौजूद थे। सबसे पहले हम यहाँ पर पहुँचे, हमें लगा, और जब हमने 2 एसटीएफ के जवानों से बात की तो एक एसटीएफ ने बताया कि विकास दुबे इसमें बैठा हुआ था। तब हमें पता चला कि विकास दुबे इसमें बैठा था। दूसरे ने बताया कि उसको कुछ चोट लगी है, लेकिन एनकाउंटर जैसी बात वो जवान नहीं बता रहे थे। तब हमें लगा कि क्या ये एक्सीडेंट हो गया काफ़ी देर तक, लेकिन अचानक से कानपुर पुलिस का बयान आता है कि एनकाउंटर हो गया।
In July 2020, a notorious gangster, Vikas Dubey, who had surrendered in Madhya Pradesh, was shot and killed while being brought to Uttar Pradesh. The official version was that the gangster snatched a pistol and the police had to shoot to kill. Vikas Dubey had been known to be close to politicians and had flourished within a system that fostered a police-gangster-politician nexus. This was nothing new in Uttar Pradesh, where strong-arm politics had for long held sway. But soon after assuming office in 2017, the new chief minister of the state gave an interview in which he said that those who commit crime will be knocked off. A not-so-subtle warning that his government was to have zero lenience towards crime, even if that meant a diluted tolerance of laid-down laws.
सत्ता के संरक्षण में पल रहे गुंडे, माफिया, अपराधी, लुटेरे, ये सब के सब मेहरबानी करके या तो उत्तर प्रदेश छोड़ करके चले जाएं, और अगर उत्तर प्रदेश में रहेंगे तो फिर उनके लिए 2 जगह होंगी। मुझे लगता है उस जगह कोई भी नहीं जाना चाहेगा।
Throughout the tenure of the outgoing government, a widespread perception was created that the law and order situation in Uttar Pradesh had improved. In August 2021, the UP police released figures of criminals it had shot dead since the BJP government had been sworn in. 140 people had been shot dead, all of them accused of attempting to escape police custody. In the same period of time, another 3,330 people were injured in police encounters.
सर मुझे
बोले don't be
Tell him. Go on, Nitin. Yogi ji, we all respect you.
10 years before he took the oath of office as chief minister, the MP from Gorakhpur had broken down on the floor of the Lok Sabha.
मुझे जिस प्रकार से राजनीतिक पूर्वाग्रह का शिकार बनाया जा रहा है, मैं केवल आपसे अनुरोध करने के लिए आया हूँ, क्या मैं इस सदन का सदस्य हूँ या नहीं हूँ, और क्या यह सदन मुझे संरक्षण दे पाएगा या नहीं दे पाएगा।
Yogi Adityanath was upset and unnerved because of the 11 days he had to spend in an UP jail.
मैंने अपने जीवन से संन्यास लिया है अपने समाज के लिए।
In 2007, Adityanath had made an inflammatory speech that turned a minor criminal incident in Gorakhpur into a communal riot. Adityanath remained in lockup for 11 days till he managed to get bail. In May 2017, shortly after Yogi Adityanath became the chief minister, his government had told the Allahabad High Court that he cannot be prosecuted for allegedly making a hate speech during the communal riots in Gorakhpur in 2007. The court was also informed that the state's Home Department had denied permission for the prosecution of the chief minister.
आपको याद होगा जब काशी ने तय किया था कि बाबा के दरबार तक विश्वनाथ कॉरिडोर बनेगा, भव्यता दिव्यता के साथ साथ श्रद्धालुओं की सुविधा को भी बढ़ाया जाएगा। विरोध करने वालों ने तब इसे लेकर भी काफी कुछ कहा था, बहुत कुछ किया भी था, लेकिन आज बाबा की कृपा से काशी का गौरव पुनर्जीवित हो रहा है।
The 5 years of the BJP government in Lucknow, as well as at the centre, has seen mammoth projects and huge spectacles take place with clockwork regularity in Uttar Pradesh, creating an image of a successful administration doing its utmost to better conditions. From the Kashi corridor to the under construction Ram Mandir to projects in Varanasi or on the Ganga. With the mega events, the BJP cemented its status as a Hindu party. The pandemic had taken its toll on the land, and multiple waves of COVID-19 infections left its devastating impact on the state. Even as the death numbers remained difficult to count or account, the economy suffered. Lockdowns and shutdowns threw up challenges for the administration for which there had been no precedents. Uttar Pradesh, with its huge population, also accounted for the largest number of migrant workers who were impacted during the absolute lockdown of 2020. But with elections round the corner, the political rhetoric once again seems to have shifted from tangible material issues to the abstruse concepts of identity and fraternity. Because perceptions in politics may not be as important as reality, but they sure play a crucial role in the shaping of political realities. Voters, and mainly those who are fence-sitters, rely heavily on this perception, rely heavily on the direction in which the wind is blowing. The elections in Uttar Pradesh have for long remained in the realm of arithmetic. How do the numbers stack up? Which divide votes for whom? What are the minorities thinking? Will such and such caste be made to swing around? These are calculations that dominate politics and its expression thereof in Indian democracy. None more vividly than in the country's most populous state.